lifestyle has caught fire, and we talk about the rewards and challenges of it. This is the Wandering Worker Podcast with Matt Lloyd.
Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Worker Podcast. I am your host, Matt Lloyd. The Wandering Worker Podcast, as always, is powered by Magic Apple Technology. We've been saving good businesses from bad phone systems since 2008. Whether you're tuning in from the comfort of your home office, a cafe, or exploring a new corner of the world, this podcast is your compass to navigate the ever-evolving landscape of remote work. We'll uncover invaluable insights, share personal stories, and connect with experts who have mastered the art of working while wandering. Today we have a very special guest, Rene Cook. It's going to be a little different today. We're going to talk about something that's very close to my heart and her heart. It is a charity called Every Girl Counts. So welcome, Rene. Thank you for being on.
Thank you, Matt.
So we can start off with 5 questions. Okay. So we'll just do our best to get through these. What was your most recent experience going down a rabbit hole?
That's every conversation with my husband. That's an
and we
easy
just
one.
had John on, and John's sitting right here. So yeah, I agree. That would be easy to do.
Yes.
Do you have a dream job in mind? If so, what would it be?
I'm living my dream
There
life.
you go. Yes, of course.
It doesn't get better than this.
Let's see. What's the way you find yourself procrastinating the most? So what's that one thing that you always procrastinate doing?
Folding laundry.
Yeah, any kind of
Just
chores.
this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Folded 4 loads of laundry.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Any household chores, like the dishes. I don't know what it is about dirty dishes. I'm just like, you'll wait. My wife last night got on to me. She was like, I wish you would just put water in them. It's one thing you just leave them in there, but you could at least put some water in them. I'm like, I like them to get crusty. I don't know why. It's just
more
their
work.
dishes. Yeah. Do you or did you in the past have any strange habits?
That's a great question for John.
Do you know any
Strange habits?
Strange habits?
No.
He's like, I'm not answering that question.
I'm the normal one of the relationship. I mean.
She bites your toenails.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. What strange habits do you know John has? What's the worst one? Because there's a laundry list of them.
There's so many to pick from. Too many options.
Too many options, 100%. Okay, good. So Every Girl Counts.
Yes.
There's a great story behind it. First, just tell us a little bit about what that charity is. What do you guys do? What is Every Girl Counts about?
Yep. So Every Girl Counts is a registered 501c3 charity organization, which means when you contribute, you can get a tax deduction for that. So a lot of people see that as being legitimate, but we focus on educating low-income girls in Kenya and sending them to high school. And so we have 125 girls in our program this year, and we focus on educating, empowering, and sustaining them. Gotcha. So high school is a stepping stone for them, right, and it's not the end of the road. So that's a necessary step they need to go do more in life. So we've been doing that since 2014 and have kind of developed over time. We started really small with 30 students, and now we have 125. We'll have another graduation this December and graduate. That'll be our 5th graduating class. Wow. So we focus on helping girls that wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to go on to school. Yeah. And so I love being able to do that kind of work.
Yeah. Why Kenya?
So that's a great question. We had an opportunity back in 2011 and 12 to go see some other work that was being done in Kenya. And so that was the relationship we had at the time. And there's a lot of opportunity there, and just found something that we could do because our goal is to make a difference in the world. And so that was an opportunity at the time. And here we are, almost 10 years later. Yeah.
So I know that like when some of the stories you've told me, and it's just a totally different world there than here. It's just completely different. And especially for women over there, I mean, the opportunities, there's just not many. Tell me a little bit about, like, if without an education, what what does their future look like?
Yeah. So a lot of girls in Kenya do not go past 8th grade. High school fees are a lot more. And even though in Kenya they still have compulsory secondary education, the parents are still responsible for covering fees associated with that to a certain degree. So you have the government of Kenya that covers a portion of those fees, and then the parents have the remaining responsibility. So Every Girl Counts saw an opportunity to partner with the family and to cover the fees that the parents is responsible for. So that includes a uniform, a school uniform, a PE uniform. It includes shoes and socks. The girls eat at school. So for a lot of them, I mean, it's like a life or death type of thing, because there's a lot of malnutrition. If they're not growing, growing teenagers and whatnot. So girls that aren't in high school are staying at home, which puts them at physical risk for abuse, for exploitation, trafficking, drug use, a lot of different things. Yeah. So, my eyes were really opened having 3 daughters. Yeah. Just an awareness that there's other girls in different parts of the world that don't have the same opportunity as my own children, which to me is just, it just kind of blew my mind that there were girls that would not be able to go to school past 8th grade because it's expensive. Yeah. So having the opportunity to make a difference in that way, and especially with girls who don't have the same value in different parts of the world, and in Kenya where we're working. So the girl is viewed as not being worth as much, not as valuable. They're going to be married off, and be valuable to the husband's family, but so they're focused more on educating boys. So there was a big disparity there, which was an opportunity for us to go in and do something good.
Yeah, because without the education, without the school, their opportunities to make a living on their own are almost non-existent. Yeah. Right? I mean, didn't you say they have the option to basically sell? What was it? You told me one time the stories of what they were selling, like paper on the streets or something like that.
I mean they're really ingenious people. I mean, they look for opportunities to support themselves and their community, because they do think in the collective we. Right. And so when they see that we're coming in and helping educate their daughter, their sister, whoever, they're seeing it as we're helping improve their community. And so for a girl that wouldn't be in school, she would be looking for opportunities to support herself or her family, whether it be selling corn on the side of the street, or other vegetables or fruits, or anything that they can sell to help support themselves. They're looking for those types of opportunities. Yeah. So high school education, when the girl graduates, they have the opportunity to explore other opportunities that would get them a good job. So for instance, I'll show this story. There's a girl, Terry Ann, who just graduated last year. And Terry Ann made a connection with the supplier of our shoes. So the company that we purchase our school shoes from for our students, they reached out to her because she spoke at an event just to kind of share about her personal experience and how Every Girl Counts helped her. The manager of the shoe company said, she's a really dynamic kid. I would love for her to come to our training program and have an opportunity to work full time. So she completed 3 months of training and has secured a full-time job. But what happens is you have to have your high school education in order to go on and to qualify for those types of positions. Gotcha. So that's why I say it's a stepping stone to get to the next level. So
once you have that high school diploma, then it does really open up for them, and they have opportunities to do a lot of different stuff at that point.
Yes. So there are greater opportunities. And so a lot of times we'll get asked, why don't you send girls to college, or why don't you support them after high school? Yeah. And so we're focused on making sure that we're true to what our mission is, and you can't be all things to all people. Yeah, exactly. And so we found a way to make a difference. But what we're also doing is making partnerships in the community, like with our shoe supplier or whoever it is, other community organizations that are meeting other needs, so that we can network with with those other organizations to give girls opportunities. So we see our role in that is to facilitate the connection after high school. So we're focusing on what we're doing to do that really well.
And so when did you guys start this?
So we started raising funds to support our cause back in 2013, but we were recognized as an official nonprofit in 2014.
Got you. And so not necessarily the mission, but the way in which you accomplished that mission, has it changed since before when you started to today?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's been a good change.
Tell me about that.
So we when we started working in Kenya, we had a relationship with a partner at that time that we are no longer partners with, thank goodness. And so that was I think that served a purpose because that was our entry point into the work that we're doing now. So I don't know that we could have been where we are without having that experience, but I also think we wouldn't be where we are with our implementation method because of that negative experience. And so we worked with a local Kenyan ministry that he had his own NGO, non-governmental organization there in Kenya, and was working in schools. And so we actually started out, our model was we built a school. So we raised money, we purchased property, we built the school building, went through that whole process, engaged an architect and a builder, and there's a big learning curve with that, but there's also, you get stuck in the minutia of running a school versus focusing on changing lives. And so I think that's why I enjoy our work more now than I did then. And so it was that negative experience of having what you work to build, having that basically taken away from you. And discovering that the people you were working with weren't as honest as you thought they were. And dealing with uncovering and witnessing some fraudulent things and fake receipts. And I mean, there's so much there we could go into. But just realizing that you're stuck in the minutia of that versus, like I said, changing lives. And so once we transitioned away from him and I went through a really hard time of, that fear of, okay, we have all these, I think we had 65 girls at the time. We have 65 girls that we now, we want to uphold our commitment to them of educating them. I don't want to let them down and disappoint them. And so the task of trying to find schools for them to attend, because we no longer had our school, and figuring out what that was going to look like. And the fear of failure is a great motivator.
Because it's not just a fear of your personal failure, but it's the fear of letting them down and knowing that, hey, if they don't get this, their opportunities are really limited.
And just, failing them and their family and their community. And so going through that process and coming out on the other side of that with a more sustainable model that we're implementing now. So we don't have a school, and there are days that I wish that we had that physical property to do work at, but our model now has given us a great inroad into the public school system there in Kenya, because we partner with community schools that are run by the government of Kenya, and we have 5 schools that we are partnered with. It's given us a great opportunity not just to work with the students that come from those schools that we're supporting, but we've had opportunity. We wouldn't have had to go in and talk to the whole student body at this public school. And so that opportunity is something that we wouldn't have had if we had just maintained our little bubble of a school, I guess.
Right. And so how are the schools, the government-backed schools, are they decent schools?
So it really depends on what part of the country you're in. I think a big issue there is overcrowding and underfunding, and I think that's a similarity with American schools. Just
probably amplified in greater magnitude.
And so not enough teachers. You may find a classroom with 100 kids in it.
Wow.
So there's overcrowding. There's not enough resources with textbooks and that sort of thing. So a lot of problems that you see here are just amplified there. Yeah.
So now, because it's in Kenya, you don't live in Kenya, you live here.
Yes.
So how does that work? How do you run, something that far away from you.
It's really far. So there's a huge time difference. Just at a very basic level, look, depending on our time change, it could be 8 or 9 hour time difference. And so trying to coordinate phone calls or meetings or whatever when we have to do that. But it really gets down to having people in place that you trust, because I'm all the way here in the Nashville area, and our 2 team members in Kenya, they live and work in Kenya full time. And so having people in place that you trust, but then regular communication is key to that. And then having processes in place that support both of those.
It's just like running a business.
Exactly.
Mean, it's just, you're doing it for the betterment of others and not and the betterment of yourself. I mean, you do feel good about it, right? I mean,
I love it.
Yeah. How often do you go to Kenya?
Not as often as I would like to.
Yeah.
I was just there in June and spent a week, and then I'm looking to go back the week after Thanksgiving.
Gotcha.
So twice a year.
Twice a year. Yeah. I know you guys. You have that, but then you also do a lot of other stuff for the girls too. You I know you do a lot of stuff with glasses. You bring them, glasses, because it's hard to find over there. And so tell me about some of the ancillary services that you bring to them on top of it.
Yeah. So part of what we do to directly support the student, in addition to things that are covered with their school attendance. So getting them to school with the uniform and the tuition and whatnot is important. But if you can't keep them in school, that's obviously a bad thing.
Right.
So we're supplying them with menstrual hygiene products every month to make sure that that's not a reason that they're missing school.
Right.
And so what I found is a lot of challenges that girls face in Kenya, teenage girls here, are so similar. And so giving them the supplies that they need, but then also equipping them with knowledge. Because and one thing I love about education and what is happening with education is that that's not something that can be taken away from someone.
Right.
So once you have it, it's yours forever. And so equipping them with education about themselves, with knowledge about themselves. They may not have family members that have those open discussions about reproductive health and how things work and why things work. And so having life skills training is something that we do with them on a regular basis. And then, like you said, with reading glasses, that is a way that we have been able to meet the need with students, because they're not seeking medical help for a proactive reason. It's very, something acute has happened.
And it's probably not very prevalent over there either. I don't imagine it's easily accessible.
Yeah. So using reading glasses, though, that's we can reach the community with that too.
Yeah.
And so we're able to also help girls that may have vision problems, and they're not able to have access to healthcare like we do here.
Yeah. So now your guys that you've had, I know that in the past you've said that they've also kind of helped with just when girls are having some issues or something's going on, they have somebody in their corner they can reach out to.
Yep.
And your guys can tell us a little about your guys over there and what they do. I assume guys, I don't know, maybe they.
Yep. So we have our manager, Emmanuel, is amazing. We literally could not do what we're doing without him, especially in a remote work situation. And so, like I said, you've really got to trust the people that you have in place. And so I have a lot of trust with Emmanuel, and trust in him and his ability, his decision making. And so he's a key player with what we're doing. And he's been with us, I think he's coming up on 9 years of service with Every Girl Counts.
How'd you find him? I mean, that just seems really, I mean, it's hard enough to find people in Nashville. How did you find somebody in Kenya? Was it Indeed?
Not quite that easy. No. So we put out a request for resumes for this position, and kind of advertised it online and with our church connections, because we are a faith-based organization.
Right. I should have asked about that.
That's okay. And so we said this is a position that we're looking to bring a team member on with, and so he submitted his resume, and I liked him at first. I still like him. I should clarify. I think he's amazing, but I envisioned, I think I was too distracted by what I thought my vision of that person was. Right. And so I actually had the nerve to ask him, could we interview your wife? Because I really think this is supposed to be a female in this position.
I can understand why you would want that. I mean, it's all about empowering women, and you're like,
and thank goodness that we have Emmanuel, because he's been amazing in his job, and he's a big advocate for the students. He's also a big advocate for doing what is best for the organization as a whole. And so I really appreciate the fact that that gets back to that thinking of we versus I. And so he wants to make sure that everyone is successful. And so he's been a very big part of what we're doing there.
Yeah.
So he's kind of the face of the organization there in Kenya, because he's the one that's dealing with parents. He's dealing with managing our other team member, Maureen. And so he's kind of he's spinning all the plates, I guess, over there. And then Maureen is our spiritual coordinator, because being a faith-based organization, we do have a biblical component. And so we're investing in girls on Saturdays. So they go to school Monday through Friday, and then we're bringing them all together as a big group on Saturday. And so we're sharing Bible stories with them and how that can apply to their life. But then we're also using that time to train them on life skills. Like I said, taking care of themselves, and a lot of what we do too, encouraging teenagers to not argue with their parents and to be responsible with chores. I mean, there's so many similarities with teenagers there and teenagers here. And so Maureen is really overseeing that component, where she's taking the lead as a female leader and can relate to them on that level. And then a lot of times Emmanuel, our manager, he's seen more as the father figure, because those girls, a lot of them come from single parent families, and they usually, as a broad generalization, they don't have a father figure that is in their life.
Right.
And so he kind of serves in that role as well. So definitely couldn't do what we're doing without a great team in place. And like I said, it really gets down to, I trust them. We communicate on a consistent basis, and I'm having phone calls with Emmanuel every other week. We're in the process of hiring bringing on a new team member for an administrative position. And so we had Zoom interviews for that. And so using technology and communicating, and we use WhatsApp for texting. And so we're trying to use resources that are available to make it a little bit easier. But, it does have its challenges sometimes. And, we forget that it's, 2:00 in the morning, and I'm trying to, text Emmanuel a question. And then I'm like, oh, right, it's we're not on the same time frame.
Yeah. So for you guys, a win, right? So you're is it to graduate? So when you have a graduated child, that's a win for you guys. That's the count.
That is one of the definitions of success. Yeah, as we want to get them across that finish line.
What are some of the other ones?
I also think when one of the things we do on Saturdays that I really love, and I love being there to see this, is we give the girls a forum for their creative side. And so they have an opportunity to develop leadership skills, and to, they lead, we have a time of worship, and so they're singing together, and they, developing leadership skills that way. And, they have small group opportunities to be a leader. They, one time they put on a fashion show for us, and so they were able to use their really creative side for that. So we're developing, it's more of a development of the whole child. And seeing that type of success, and seeing the girl who comes, starts with our program and maybe very timid and shy, and then watching her grow over those 4 years, because our goal is to journey with girls over the 4-year period of high school. And so to see that kind of growth, but then also the spiritual side of everything, and seeing them develop in their faith, or maybe even come to faith, or even to just ask hard questions, because it's okay to not be at that same point in having a relationship with God. And so seeing them ask some hard questions, and to be comfortable asking those questions, that's great too. I consider that growth as well. So
that's really cool. So what would you say is the big lesson, like one of the big lessons you've taken away from your time doing this? What's a big lesson you've learned?
Well, I think I've said this a few times, is just the similarities between teenage girls.
Doesn't matter where they are.
Doesn't matter where they are. They have a lot of the same issues, boys and
they roll their eyes no matter where they are.
Yes. You could probably see their eyes roll from here. So there's so many similarities. And I think, I have grown in my knowledge about teenagers in general, and being a mom to have a 16-year-old as our youngest, and just so many similarities. I've enjoyed learning, and every opportunity is an opportunity to learn, whether that's learning about another culture, learning more about myself. I think I've learned a lot about myself through this, and I flew overseas by myself. Never would have done that.
And not
before.
like overseas to like London or something, but to Kenya.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. And so I think I've learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
And I think too, as I've gotten older and having more self-confidence and more self-awareness, that's been something that I've learned as well.
Yeah.
And then learning that there are so many people out there who want to give back and who also want to make the world a better place, and being able to leverage that kind of desire, to do that and to work towards something that is bigger than yourself.
Absolutely. So what's the future hold for Every Girl Counts? What do you envision?
That's a great question. I like where we're at. I think I've challenged my own assumptions about what I think a successful organization is. And I used to think, we've got to be in Uganda and Ethiopia and all these other countries. And I think I've kind of challenged my own definition of being successful. And so I think if we're doing the most good with what we have, then we're successful.
Yeah.
And if we're impacting girls and their families and their community at the level that I see happening, and knowing those students on a personal basis, I think that's a definition of success. And so it's not necessarily about being the biggest, it's doing the most good with what you have, where you are.
So where can after hearing this and our listeners want to learn more about that, and they really got attached with this idea and they want to be a part of it, where do they find you guys? How do they learn more about Every Girl Counts?
Yeah, so we have 2 social media accounts. We're on Facebook as Every Girl Counts, and we're also on Instagram as Every Girl Counts. And so those are the 2 best ways to check out the work that we're doing. So we make posts on there. We talk about specific girls. We talk about opportunities to be involved at the local level, if you want to collect school supplies for us to take, or if you want to collect pads for us to take when we go. That helps lessen the financial burden on us. So there's ways to be involved locally as well. It's not just about what's happening in Kenya, but there's chances to be part of that work here, and advocating for what we're doing. We would love the opportunity to go talk to your group, and share about the work that we're doing. So social media, our website is currently under construction for a new site, but that's everygirlcounts.com.
Okay. We'll make sure to put all the links in this episode. Now, you also have a fundraiser coming up.
Yes.
You do it every year. It's always a lot of fun. It's you just told me yesterday, November 11th.
November 11th.
And so I'll put if there's a link or something that has information about it, I'll make sure to include that in there as well. And I know that, we've gone almost every year for at least the last 7 or 8 years, I guess. And we currently sponsor, I think, 2 or 3 girls. And then what's cool is, though, when you're at this event, you have the option to be able to just buy shoes, or you don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but you can do just the small things that just add up and do a massive amount of help. So we'll make sure to include all of that in there. Rene, thank you for being on today.
Thank you, Matt.
This was not planned for you to be on today. I had a guest that dropped out, and then I was like, would you please?
Choice.
No, but a great option. So thank you so much. Well, that's it for this episode of The Wandering Worker. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Rene today and learning more about Every Girl Counts. Make sure to mark your calendars for our next episode. We drop them weekly, and where we will continue to dive into the world of The Wandering Worker. And I am like spitting all over myself today. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Magic Apple, as always, where we've been saving good businesses from bad phone systems since 2008. If you're unhappy with your work from home environment and experience, give us a call. We can help. Same thing if you've got an old phone system. We're happy to do that as well. Make sure to check us out on all the socials. And again, as always, thank you, and we'll see you next week.